Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Digits Dynasty Podcast, where we are counting down the greatest athletes to wear each and every uniform number, regardless of the sport, regardless of the league. Today we are looking at the number 16. I'm here with Curtis, who is quite a few years past celebrating his own Sweet 16.
Yeah, Sweet 16, not too many years, but
A lot of years. I don't want to, it's been decades.
I mean, let's not act like you got your license yesterday.
16 is going to be a good one here. There's a lot of guys worth mentioning here that I guess I didn't really think of prior to the research that we put in. But there's also a lot of sports we're going to cover. We're going to cover some sports we have not covered yet on the podcast.
Which is surprising, but I think the sport you're talking about doesn't really have too many numbers. They kind of keep it low.
We're talking soccer, right?
Yeah, not a very popular sport.
No. Yeah, I think probably below the number 20, we can expect some people to be wearing those numbers.
Do they even go to 20?
There's probably one or two guys who want to be different.
I don't know. I mean, I know that 10,
10's a big one.
7 is Ronaldo 7.
Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo, yeah.
So I know those two. I know Messi.
That's it.
But I got to be honest with you, not a big soccer guy.
Football.
No. But yeah, 16, I mean, there's a lot of guys. You know, when we said 16 last week, I instantly thought, there's only one. There's only one 16. This is not going to be a debate. This is going to be cut and dry. But I've got almost 20 guys here on my list.
And I think because there's going to be a lot of guys that I think did something with their number, we're going to try to go fairly quickly through some of these guys, mention some highlights of their career, leave some kind of deep diving into when we get into our debate at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bore you with the Jim Plunkett's of the world, but
What do you got against Jim Plunkett?
I got nothing against them. But
Jake the Snake Plumber?
I got nothing against those guys. Great careers, great guys. Some of these guys are going to have their jerseys retired by their clubs. But I think at the end of the episode, we're going to find that it really comes down to one. I think we had a little bit of a conversation before we started recording.
Which is rare for us, actually.
It is. I don't like talking to you. I set aside an hour a week, and that's about all I can do. But, you know, it doesn't sound like we're, at a unanimous decision here yet.
It's not unanimous. I think we're probably leaning one way, but let's get through the meat here.
Well, let's get started.
Can't start anywhere but the 16th president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, got us through the Civil War, defended the nation, defeated the Confederacy, played a major role in getting rid of slavery, expanded the power of the federal government, modernizing the U.S. economy. He kind of got on his high horse, and I think he was very proud of what he was doing. And he's like, "Yo, let's celebrate by going to the theater." And I think he just got a little too big for his britches. And
You think that's what happened?
I think that's what it was.
I mean, I thought you were going to talk good about the guy, but
No,
you went dark pretty quickly.
I really I want to figure out a way to make Abraham Lincoln to mentioning like Daniel Day-Lewis when he was in the movie Lincoln. I was going to say there's no sequel to that movie for a reason.
I don't even know where to go from here.
I can only go up.
I didn't, you're not normally this dark.
No, I apologize.
Abraham Lincoln, I mean, where do you rank him in your presidents?
I'd say gotta be top 4. He's on
4.
Well, he's on Mount Rushmore.
That is a rock. Yes.
He can't, unless they start erasing people on that. I think he's got to be, I'd say top 4. He's up there with Washington for sure. I think we mentioned Jefferson a bunch of episodes ago. I think Jefferson's up there.
Yeah.
And Lincoln's got to be 3.
Do you put Ted in there at 4? I mean, he's on. When did they make Mount Rushmore?
Yeah,
When
they made that. FDR is not that either.
I mean, FDR.
Him.
I mean,
but I think Teddy was just the cool guy. I don't think he spent a lot of time at the national parks, which I like. But
which I think
maybe
he
should have been president more.
Probably, but the reason there are all of the national parks is because of Teddy Roosevelt, which that puts him on Mount Rushmore because that is a national park.
Yeah, the height up there.
So, I get that choice, but do you know when Mount Rushmore was carved?
1925. And I think initially they were supposed to be building whole people, a whole upper body.
Or a 3/4.
I think, it was going to be mainly as full a body as possible. But I think they didn't use a lot of dynamite up rocks, and I think it just became quite the project. I think they stuck with the heads.
Okay. I mean, I'm good with it. I've never been. Have you been?
I have been, actually. I was driving across country and I figured how how often am I going to be like 4 hours away from this place?
But it's pretty out of the way.
It's out of the way. I figured that it was worth a 4-hour detour to see it because no offense to any of our listeners in South Dakota, but there's really not much going on in that state.
I mean, I'd say we have a lot of listeners in South Dakota, but I think they have like a population of 200. So
yeah, so
I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, Abe, I mean, I'm putting him top 2. It's hard, George Washington, he set the stage for the rest of them.
I think with George Washington, he's on the dollar bill. You got Lincoln on the penny. I feel like the most used currency for dollars, the most used currency for cents, they're on there for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine what our country looks like without him leading us through the Civil War.
Obviously, kind of born from nothing in a log cabin, but ended up being a really good attorney, defended quite a few people kind of in his legal career, became a congressman and moved his way up, and just a great orator too. Like just could speak and kind of really influence people.
I did when I was up in the Maryland, Pennsylvania area, went to Gettysburg and, stood where he gave that speech. And it was a really moving experience to be there, to think about all that those people were going through at the time, but also how much pressure he must have been under to carry the nation through that. I mean, a civil war. It's crazy to think about.
Split down the middle and convince people that slavery is wrong. And
you wouldn't think it'd be hard to convince people that slavery is wrong, but okay. I mean, a conversation for not a sports podcast, but
yeah, we're not qualified for that.
But I mean, was he better than Joe Montana? That's the real question.
He was a good boxer, actually. I think he was quite the bare knuckle brawler. And then he also had that weird thing where he hunted vampires. I don't know if that's...
Wow, you are down a deep rabbit hole.
I've never read the book, but that was the bestseller, I think.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
I was more reading Team of Rivals, not Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, but I think he was a better president than he was a vampire hunter. Back to 16 here.
I think you lost a lot of people.
The atomic number 16 is sulfur. Sulfur is the 5th most common element by mass in the Earth. Elemental sulfur can be found near hot springs and volcanic regions in many parts of the world, but the greatest commercial use for element is sulfuric acid for fertilizers and other chemical processes. You can use them in matches and insecticides, and many of the compounds are odoriferous, and the smell of odorized natural gas, skunk scent, bad breath, grapefruit, and garlic are due to organosulfur compounds.
I mean, it's got to be the stinkiest element of them all, right?
Yeah.
It's like, after Thanksgiving, deviled eggs. If you're within reach of me, there's probably a smell of sulfur coming around.
Deviled eggs are good.
I love a good deviled egg.
It's a staple at like every one of our family events in my whole life.
It's not every day that I eat like 6 eggs in a sitting, but
you just pop them out. They're like candy.
I really do. My grandma makes them, and my grandma, God rest her soul, she's not here anymore. But she used to put a little bit of pickle juice in there. Ooh. And I'll tell you, those are the best deviled eggs.
You put pickles in yours? Just pickles?
No, just the juice.
Okay.
Just the juice.
There's been, sometimes I eat deviled eggs with like pickles in it, and it's not my first choice.
No, a little egg yolk, a little mustard, a little mayonnaise, a little pickle juice. And she did put a little bit of vinegar in there.
Okay.
A little paprika. Keep it simple.
Yeah, try that.
You're not invited to my house for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving's already happened as of this airing. Mentioned the Sweet 16 earlier. That's when I think typically American girls would celebrate their, I guess, transition into adulthood.
So debatable. I'm not sure that they're adults at 16.
Oh, they're not, but that's they can drive. I guess they can go get their permit depending on what state you're in.
Yeah, I grew up in Indiana, as we've said before, and you got your permit at 15, you got your license at 16.
You could go like on your 16th birthday?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I have heard that kids these days don't really want their license. They're not. I mean, I remember,
you like counted down the days.
Back in the times, that went from like...
When it didn't have the bottom and you had to use your feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
But going to get your license was a big, big deal. Everyone did it, whether you had a car or not.
You think in Connecticut you had to be 16 to get your permit. And I think I was always involved with like sports in high school. So I feel like it was always tough to do like the driver's ed class. Ended up being 17 when I got my license.
No, I did the driver's ed when I was 15 because you could take your driver's test at the end of driver's ed. Then all you had to do was show up, read an eye chart, take your picture. Don't smile because you have to be a tough guy.
I think the person told me, like, well, when you get pulled over, you're not going to be smiling, so you don't want to smile in your picture. I was like, hey, I'm not going to get pulled over.
I have heard that. Have you been pulled over?
Yeah.
For what?
I don't know if I think the statute of limitations is over, but I think it was just probably speeding. I'm a pretty tame person here.
They give you a ticket?
I think I've gotten a ticket. Got pulled over once.
You don't know?
It's been a long time. I remember coming back from a Red Sox game at like 2 a.m, got pulled over. I was like, I don't think I did anything wrong. And he's like, do you know I pulled you over? And I was like, no. He's like, where have you been tonight? I was like, I went to the Red Sox game. He's like, all right, have a nice day, sir. And I was like, all right. I was freaked out.
It's kind of weird.
It was very weird.
We drove over the Florida-Georgia border. I mean, I was doing well over 90. I was 18, 19. We were on spring break. Yeah, we got busted. Got that ticket. Still haven't paid.
Well,
so I'm not allowed to go through Georgia.
I think Sweet 16 to me more means March Madness.
Yes.
And as a fan of the 2-time defending champion UConn Huskies, I just want to take a quick little mention of that. I guess before the Sweet 16, like the first 2 rounds, I think those have to be 2 of the greatest days of the whole year for a sports fan.
The Sweet 16 is definitely, I love round 1 and round 2, but Sweet 16 and Elite 8, they're really juicy matchups, really great teams, but still a ton of games.
It's true. Yeah, and it's nice just to be able to watch a game. That game ends and you're already in the second half of the next game. And then it just continues for 2 straight days. UConn's always dominating, so you don't really have to worry too much. You can kind of watch in the background.
Unless they're playing Georgia Mason.
Oh, that was the Elite 8, so Sweet 16. Well,
I like the Sweet 16. I also like the games that lead up to the conference championships in football. What round is that? Divisional round?
In football?
Yeah, in the NFL.
Oh, in the NFL. I thought we were talking college.
No.
Yeah, like the divisional round, yeah.
So there's 2 AFC teams, there's 4 AFC teams, 4 NFC teams.
They play on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, I love it. There's 2 games each day. They mean so much. That's a good day for me.
And you don't have to worry too much. The Colts usually aren't in it. So,
man, you are just like
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Sweet 16, usually reserved for girls, but boys turn 16 too. But they don't really mature until they're 52.
We'll get there someday. There's actually 2 towns in the United States that are named 16. You got 16 Kentucky, and you have 16 Montana. 16 Montana is currently a ghost town. Took its name from 16 Mile Creek, which runs through the narrow valley containing the village. Really nothing in the town. I don't even know why they called it that. Unincorporated town, so it's really just kind of a drive-through town, I guess. And then just in life, I feel like you should be getting 8 hours of sleep a day, which means you should have 16 hours of waking life.
I mean, 16 hours of waking time a day, that's about right. I'd say the average human sleeps 8 hours. Of course, you have those that sleep less and those that sleep more. 16 hours still seems like a
lot.
It's a long day. I work for about 9 hours a day. So that still leaves 7 hours, but
you're driving for 2 of the hours.
Commute is 2, and then you get home and there's still lots to do. You gotta put food on the table and play with the kids, and then do the nighttime routine, which is always, feels like 16 hours. But by that time, I'm about ready for bed.
Start it all again.
Wouldn't change a thing now. 16 ounces in a pound.
Pints a pound the world around.
Have you seen that Saturday Night Live skit with Nate Bargatze?
Oh, he's good.
When he's like, 2,000 pounds will be a ton.
Well, General, with 1,000 pounds.
No, we won't have a name for that. And then the one guy is a Keenan. He's like, and what about the black people?
He just kind of ignores it. I've seen a lot of good memes where, just one I saw the other day where they're talking, they're like, yeah, we'll have the greatest football teams will play in New York. And we'll call them the New York Giants and the New York Jets. And they'll play in New York City. No, they're gonna play in New Jersey.
Great skate. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. looking that one up.
There's 2 now. He just had.
Yeah, he did a little sequel to it.
Yeah, you could do those for days. It really does, like the English language, a lot of the things that we do. It's just like, hey, why do we do that?
A lot of it doesn't make sense. Yeah, 16 ounces at a pound. I don't know why it's 16 ounces, but it is.
You have 16 pieces when playing chess, and of the 32 total pieces, 16 are pawns between the 2 opponents. You a big chess guy?
I like chess. I mean, I'm not like an expert.
No grandmaster over here?
No, but I can hold my own. We've played chess before, I think.
I think you played against my kids.
Your kids came over one time. I don't know what you were doing. Who knows? But your kids were at my house for
I
a
have
few
16 hours of waking time. I'll use it how I need to.
And we have a chessboard underneath our table, and they pulled it out. We played a little chess.
I don't think we need to say who won and lost.
I mean, I destroyed it.
I was going to imply that you lost.
Yeah, I don't take mercy with kids. It's, you want to learn how to play something, I'm going to beat you.
I think he's better at, my son's better at checkers. He's not bad at checkers.
My daughter tends to bend the rules at games.
That's what kids do.
So, it's still too early to tell.
As long as you don't call her a cheater to her face.
She's not a cheater. She's the sweetest girl in the whole world. She's the cutest kid in the whole world.
Oh, whoa. The fighting words right there.
Yeah. You did come over my house and you programmed my, I don't want to say her name because we might set them off in someone's home, but
Amazon device.
The Amazon device. You set the Amazon device. So when you said, who's the cutest kid in the world, it named your kids, which
I don't know if I even remember doing that. I think that's just what Amazon thinks.
Okay. Don't worry. I reprogrammed. And now the other night, my wife was, I don't know what was going on, but she said, hey, Amazon device, tell my family to listen to me. And she rephrased it and told us to listen. And
then there were 16 King Louis in the history of the French monarchy. King Louis the 16th, he wasn't just the last King Louis, he was the last king of France before the fall of the monarchy in 1792. Had a good run.
Good run. I mean, I think Louis the 13th is probably my favorite.
He's got to be top 16 for me. They all kind of merge in. One of them beheaded all his wives, right? And
I couldn't tell you.
The 8th.
Louis the 13th has the brand. Or
okay.
Cognac. I don't know what it is, but it's like the $2,000 bottle of booze. I had it once. It was delicious.
You didn't spill it on the way?
No, I was cooking. I was in the kitchen, and the chef brought in. We had a very high-end dinner. He brings in different trays that had all the mise en place on it. There was a whole bottle of Louis the 13th on the tray. So me and my buddy, we're probably 21, 22. He says, okay, here, you guys are going to make this. And it's basically mixing some fruit and cognac together. Like, okay, we can handle this. But first we need to go to the cooler and kind of assess the situation. So we felt it was very important for us to taste all the ingredients that we were cooking with. So we went ahead and did that.
And it passed your test?
Yeah, we decided to go ahead and do it.
Now I know what to get you for Christmas this year.
Please. Yeah, that'd be great.
The 15 bottle.
That'd be great.
Have you heard of the Myers-Briggs indicator, 16 personalities?
I have.
It's like basically a questionnaire that you kind of answer, and they kind of narrow everybody down into 16 possible personalities. And it's pretty amazing when you take this test, how accurate it really is. There's a different binary value to each of the 4 categories, either introversion or extroversion, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling, and then judging or perceiving. One letter from each category is taken to produce a 4-letter test result, resulting in one of the 16 possible types. Could be INFP, ESTJ. Mine was INTP. I'm a logician.
What was your letter?
INTP. And it's pretty amazing when they do these. I feel like how accurate when you kind of start reading the description of what each of these personalities is. I think they do a pretty good job. My wife's done one as well. And you can there's articles that talk about, all right, if you're this personality and you marry this other personality, when you read that, it's pretty spot on to our relationship. It's kind of uncanny and a little scary.
It is. It is. And I would agree. This here says you're an innovative inventor with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge.
That's it.
We're not too far off. I'm an INTJ-A, which is an architect.
Oh.
Imaginative and strategic thinkers with a plan for everything. I don't know if I agree with that, honestly.
Well,
I sometimes fly by the seat of my pants.
I think as a chef, you almost have to be. You have to do some last-minute little fixes.
But I do think that I am strategic. You know, I do like to follow a plan. There you have it.
If you're interested in your own personality, you can go to 16personalities.com, take your test free, kind of spits out what you are, and you can see if it's accurate or not.
Are they a sponsor?
Not yet, but
16personalities.com. Find out which personality suits you best. 16personalities.com. Go there today and have your personality tested. I'm just saying I can do it. Like if they want to be a sponsor, I'm here for them.
hey, we'll reach out. You are an architect. So we get into the meat, talk about some of these guys that wore the number 16 over their careers.
16 pounds of meat here.
Starting with baseball, Dwight Gooden, better known as Doc, he made the rare jump from high A directly to the major leagues in 1 year. He bypassed AA and AAA. Made his major league debut in 1984 at the age of 19. He had a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, a sweeping curveball, which they called Lord Charles, in contrast with Uncle Charlie. As a 19-year-old rookie, he earned the first of 4 All-Star selections, won the National League Rookie of the Year, led the league in strikeouts. The next year, he won the Cy Young Award and achieved the pitching Triple Crown. He had a 24-4 record and a 1.53 ERA in 16 complete games. Season after that, he helped the Mets win the 1986 World Series. After that, he went downhill a little bit, did have some issues off the field.
Powdered sugar.
After his retirement, definitely had a couple more run-ins with the law. He's Gary Sheffield's uncle.
No way.
Yeah.
Now, did they ever play on the same team?
I think he was retired when...
Because Sheffield played for the Mets and the Yankees as well, didn't he?
They didn't play at the same time. I guess they did play for some of the same teams.
Sheffield played for the Mets and Yankees as well, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. And Dwight Gooden is his uncle, which makes him Dwight Sheffield's mom's brother or dad's brother. Do you know?
I'm not sure how the tree works out.
Interesting. I mean, both are they both in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think either of them are in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, Dwight Gooden's got to be.
Dwight Gooden is in the Mets Hall of Fame, not the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Well, he should be. Only All-Star 4 times?
Yeah, just I think the first 4 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad about the kind of the fall of Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry. I'm sure Darryl Strawberry played for the Yankees as well, too, right?
Yeah, I think between Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden, the Mets had back-to-back Rookie of the Year winners, so they both won it.
Did I ever tell you I ate breakfast with Darryl Strawberry? We were at a hotel. We were at like the Howard Johnson in St. Louis. I grew up Cardinals fan, so they're playing the Mets. We're in the hotel breakfast restaurant, and Darryl Strawberry sits 2 tables down from us by himself. Me and my brother are like, that's Darryl Strawberry. And he looks over, he's like, you guys want to come sit? So we went and sat and ate breakfast with Darryl Strawberry. And went and watched him play a game with.
Pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. He did not offer us any powdered sugar for that. Yeah, Dwight Gooden played for 6 different teams. Played for 3 different teams in the year 2000. And also won a World Series that same year. He played for the Astros, the Rays, and then finally the Yankees, and then went on to win the World Series. And that was it for his career.
I guess that's a way to go out. Staying in New York, another athlete to wear the number 16, Edward Charles Ford, nicknamed the chairman of the board, better known as Whitey Ford. He played his whole 16-year career, check that out, with the Yankees. 10-time All-Star, 6-time World Series champion. In 1961, he won both the Cy Young Award and World Series Most Valuable Player Award. He is the Yankees franchise leader in career wins, shutouts, innings pitched, and games started by a pitcher. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1974. He signed with the Yankees as a free agent in 1947 and made his major league debut in 1950. After a 2-year break to serve in the U.S. Army during the Korean War, he returned to the Yankees and then pitched until he retired in 1967. In 1999, he was ranked 52nd on a Sporting News list of baseball's greatest players and was nominated that year for the Major League Baseball All-Century team. There's been a lot of pretty amazing pitchers to come through New York, and for him to have the most career wins, shutouts, pretty impressive.
Yeah, and that was quite an era for the Yankees. He had a pretty good catcher behind the plate, Yogi Berra. Didn't have too bad of a center fielder out there either behind him. So
Yeah, to win 6 World Series, it's more than just an individual thing, but it's a lot of World Series.
6 is a lot. Great career, but a little before our time. So I'm not sure how much I can appreciate Whitey Ford and how good he was. I didn't get to watch him play, or I hear much more about Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra than I do Whitey Ford.
It's true. Reggie Sanders played professionally with a slew of teams, wore 16 for 7 different teams, and was a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks' 2001 World Series championship over the Yankees. He had both power and speed, and is one of only 8 Major League players to record over 300 home runs and over 300 steals. He had a little notoriety during the 1994 season when a young pitcher in just his 5th start, Pedro Martinez, hit him with a pitch to end his bid for a perfect game with 1 out in the 8th inning. Sanders apparently thought that after he got a perfect game into 8 innings, he charged the mound, I guess thinking it was intentional, because that makes a lot of sense, and ignited a bench-clearing brawl. And he was ridiculed by some people in the press for believing that a pitcher would abandon an attempt at a perfect game to intentionally hit a batter. Yeah, Pedro didn't really hold his own when he got charged. He was a little guy. Did better, I guess, later on in his career when he decided to fight Don Zimmer.
I mean, Don Zimmer did go after him. I mean, it's hard to be like, yo, Pedro. Like,
you just do it, old man. Like, yeah, he was coming after him.
Why is Don Zimmer trying to fight?
What else are you going to do?
Professional athletes. But, I mean, I have no doubt that Pedro was trying to brush him off the plate.
Yeah, it was like an 0-2 pitch. It was, I think, back-to-back, like, inside pitches. But, yeah, once you're hit, and even Pedro's reaction once he hits him is like, come on, that was a perfect game.
Yeah. But, did he go on to get a no-hitter, or did Pedro have a no-hitter?
I don't think he finished the game.
Did he ever have a no-hitter?
He did not have a no-hitter. I think
It's interesting.
I wouldn't say he had another perfect game into the 9th at one point. Yeah, no no-hitters for Pedro. Next guy on the list, Hal Newhouser, played for the Tigers and Indians over his 17-year career. All-star for 6 seasons, considered to be the most dominating pitcher of the World War II era of baseball. He won the pitching Triple Crown for the Tigers in 1945. He's also the only pitcher in Major League Baseball history to win 2 consecutive MVP awards. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1992. After his playing career was over, he eventually came back and worked as a scout for several MLB teams, including the Houston Astros. After he suggested they should draft a young man by the name of Derek Jeter, and the Astros ignored him and drafted Phil Nevin instead, he quit and said, I'm not going to be a scout anymore. And I'd say that they probably should have listened to him. I think Derek Jeter went on to have a pretty decent career.
I bet.
One more guy to mention for the number 16, Hideo Nomo. He wore 16 when he made his debut with the Los Angeles Dodgers, nicknamed the Tornado because he had that super awesome pitching windup where he kind of turned his back to the batter and kind of whipped the pitch in there. He was really the best pitcher in Japan, won the Rookie of the Year award and the best pitcher over there. His manager would overwork him with lengthy starts of well over 140 pitches. His shoulder began to quit on him, but it was his dream to pitch in Major League Baseball. He often read Nolan Ryan's philosophy of pitching. But in Japanese baseball, you had to pitch for 10 years before you could be released from your contract. And typically pitchers just wouldn't make it 10 years. Kind of got beat up and wouldn't really last that long. But finally, he found an agent who hopefully helped him get his dream to play in Major League Baseball. And they found a little loophole in the contract where if a player were to retire, they'd be free to leave and test the waters elsewhere. So they figured that Nomo would have to be released from his contract and then force him into retirement. So the plan was to anger the management enough to believe that kicking him out was the only option. So they had to go in and anger their bosses, which I feel like a lot of people could do pretty well. And so finally, the team president got so angry that he said, if you don't stop this, we're going to make you retire. And Nomo's like, all right, I guess I'll retire. And then he left the team and in February of 95 signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers to become the second ever Japanese-born player to play in Major League Baseball behind Asunori Murakami. His first couple of years, he was pretty solid. Kind of as batters caught on to his delivery, his effectiveness did wane a bit, but he still went on to join Dwight Gooden as the only other pitcher to strike out at least 200 batters in each of his first 3 seasons. He does have a no-hitter in both the National and American League. Hideo Nomo.
Nice. Did you know that he used to sleep with a tennis ball taped between his fingers to kind of train his hand for that forkball?
Also pretty cool. So they found that loophole, and I think at first he came. I think a lot of the Japanese fans that he had over in Japan were really kind of taken aback by him kind of leaving and weren't really fans of his anymore. Once he got to Major League Baseball and was dominating, I think they kind of got another national sense of pride where they're like, yeah, like we can do it over there, and we can compete just as well as those Americans playing baseball. Pretty cool how he kind of opened the door for all these great Japanese players to come. We got Otani now, but back in the day, there were just so many different Ichiro and just all sorts of players that
Matsui, Ichiro, I mean,
and made it and continues to have people come over from Japan and dominate.
I mean, Shohei, he could go down as the greatest baseball player of all time.
Yeah, he's so dominant on both sides of the plate. And
he's the first guy probably since Babe Ruth that has pitched and hit, right?
Yeah. I think there's a couple of people that kind of come up in minors that I feel like I remember over the years.
But they all end up getting placed
you
one way or the other. You know, I don't know anyone that's ever been like, you know what, we're going to put you on the mound and we're going to put you batting third. Any other baseball guys?
No other baseball guys.
I loved watching Hideo Nomo though.
And then he played for the Red Sox too, so it is fun just to watch that cool windup. And you always, I feel like when you're playing Little League in middle school, I would always try to emulate that. It's tough.
Oh, I mean, we were all out on the mound.
Tough to keep that balance.
To completely turn around and whip back and throw it.
Find the plate again.
He was fun to watch.
Moving on to basketball, we'll start with Pau Gasol, 6-time NBA All-Star, 4-time All-NBA team selection, won 2 championships, both with the Lakers in back-to-back years in 2009, 2010. He was the Rookie of the Year in 2002 with the Grizzlies, becoming the first non-American player to have won that award. He's regarded as one of the greatest power forwards of all time and one of the greatest European players of all time. Pretty skilled. Obviously, he scored a lot and had a pretty tough to defend because he was a pretty good shooter. He also averaged 3 assists a game over his career, 1.5 blocks per game. Kobe, who was a longtime teammate of Gasol, he said, "You'd be hard-pressed to find a big man with a skill set in the history of the game." Gasol recorded over 550 double-doubles in his career, and he became the 36th player in NBA history to reach the 10,000 point, 10,000 rebound mark. Played in 5 Olympics representing Spain.
Yeah, they were in the gold medal match against the U.S. 2012?
At least a couple times, yeah.
You ever heard the story about, because him and Kobe were teammates?
Yeah.
And
this is a good story.
Yeah, and Gasol and Kobe goes over and he's like, "Can't wait to play against you." And then Kobe goes back to Kobe. He's like, "I got Gasol. I'm going to take care of it." First play of the game, Kobe just runs through a pick.
Like, destroys him. Like,
destroys him. And Gasol is like, "Oh.
We knocked out of him.
We're not teammates right now." And really set the tone. And I think the U.S. kind of took it.
And even like, they interviewed like LeBron and D-Wade, and they're like, yeah, Kobe said that, but like, it's his teammate. Like, like they're brothers. Like, they're not going to, like, they did it and it's like, oh, we're going to win this thing. And they went out to dominate that. I think that was 2008 but then it's crazy. Like, obviously what Kobe could do off the court and on the court, but even obviously after his passing, Pau Gasol, he had a daughter and her middle name is Gianna after Kobe's daughter who passed away. And then Bryant's widow, Vanessa Bryant, is her godmother. So he's really kind of kept that brotherhood kind of beyond Kobe's death.
Yeah, they're very close, or we're very close. And Gasol was a great teammate. I mean, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He comes from a good background. And
it always kind of seems like he spent a lot of time at hospitals with kids and making sure that.
Yeah. Did you read about his background at all in Spain? So when he was coming up, his parents were both very tall. I think his dad was 6'3", his mom was 6'1", and he went to college. And when he heard at age 11 that Magic Johnson had HIV, the announcement came out, he decided that he wanted to be a doctor and find a cure for AIDS. But went to college and then started playing for FC Barcelona. And after a year there, his basketball career started to pick off. And he had a different path. But I mean, at age 11, he really wanted to kind of heal the world, so to speak. And,
pretty cool.
And really make a difference. So, I thought that was very interesting and really speaks to the kind of human he is. But poor Kobe ran through his chest.
Moving on to Bob Lanier, played center for the Pistons and the Bucks. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1992. He averaged 20 points, 10 rebounds over his career. He was the first pick in both the ABA and NBA drafts. Made it to 8 All-Stars, but did not make any NBA finals. He was hired as a basketball coach for the film White Men Can't Jump, and he said he was very impressed with Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes as their basketball skills. He suggested that both reached a Division II college basketball skill level, and did say that Woody Harrelson was a better player. Lanier was also mentioned in the 1980 movie Airplane when a exasperated Kareem Abdul-Jabbar admonished the young kid named Joey. He said, "Tell your old man to drag Walton and Lanier up and down the court for 48 minutes. He had a size 22 shoe. And at the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts, you can kind of go and size up your foot against Bob Lanier's, and my foot is quite a bit smaller. His number 16 was retired for both the Bucks and the Pistons.
Weird clearance, Clarence.
What's your Victor?
Roger.
Yeah, like how the whole movie he's like talking about how he's like, no, I'm Roger Murdoch. Like, look at my like name tag. And then he's like wearing basketball shoes. I think the first time I saw that movie, I think I was in tears. Just like, it was just such a funny movie.
Yeah, the dumb humor.
Surely you can't be serious. Tom Sanders, nicknamed Satch. He won 8 titles in his 13-year career with the Celtics. He's tied for 3rd for most NBA championships. He's one of 3 NBA players with an 8-0 record in the NBA Finals. His uniform number is retired by the Celtics, and he was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2011.
I mean, I know he's 8-time champion, but
I know, I guess that's, if you win 8 championships, I guess you get in the Hall of Fame.
He's a bit of a role player. I've got career 9 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist.
Yeah, if he didn't...
Okay.
8 championships, though, 8-0.
Yeah, I mean, he's got more championships than I do by 8, but at the same time, you know, he had a pretty good teammate.
Yeah, I'd like to have Bill Russell on my team as well.
I mean, come on. No one's talking about Tom Sanders. I'm sorry, but good for him. He's 8 now.
Peja Stojakovic, 13-year career. He wore the number 16 for 5 different teams. He was inducted into the Greek Basket League Hall of Fame in 2022. He won the NBA three-point contest 2 times. And when he retired, he was ranked 4th all-time at the point of his retirement. Currently ranks 27th in the same category. We've gotten to talk about that over the last couple episodes and just how much of a three-point game it's become. But it's crazy to finish 4th not that long ago, and now you're 27th. And probably not even, it's going to be 100th by the time the next 5-10 years go by.
Yeah, he was a pretty good player on that Kings team that really challenged the Lakers. You know, couldn't quite get over the hump. You know, whether you or not you believe that the referee was the issue, that's another story for another day. But Peja, he could really hit him from downtown, but he was a good all-around player at the same time.
Yeah, he ended up winning an NBA championship in 2011 with the Mavericks. He was the first player in NBA history to start a game off by scoring 20 consecutive points to his team. Last basketball guy to mention, just because this guy had a really cool nickname, Bill Milkby. His nickname was the Owl without a vowel. His last name was MLKBY. He only played 1 season in the NBA, but he had scored 73 points in the game at Temple in college. It's pretty cool.
73?
73. It's one of the highest of all time.
The Owl without a vowel.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid.
So we got the Owl from Temple.
Yeah.
Temple Owls?
Yeah.
Did you say that?
I didn't, but thank you for explaining it.
That's what I'm here for, as color commentary.
Well, let's move on to football, where he could be one of the greatest. I don't know. Ryan Leaf. I remember he was a 2nd overall pick, so he probably turned out really well behind Peyton Manning. So
listen, a lot of I don't know if we've established this, and if you're new to the show, I'm a big Colts fan. Grew up in the Peyton era. I was 15 when he got drafted, so big Peyton Manning fan. But I got to tell you, a lot of Colts fans thought that Ryan Leaf was the guy, and I'm not going to say people were disappointed that Manning was drafted, but there was a lot of doubt. You know, why are we not taking Ryan Leaf?
Yeah, because even stemming from the starting with the Heisman, where you'd say Peyton or Ryan Leaf got robbed via
Peyton got robbed. I mean, come on, Peyton.
Charles Woodson got it, but Ryan Leaf, he started 21 games in his career. His record was 4-17, 14 touchdowns, 36 interceptions, and he averaged 146 yards per game. Yeah, so Manning was drafted first by the Colts, Leaf second by the Chargers, who signed him to a 4-year contract worth $31 million, including a guaranteed $11.25 million signing bonus, which was the largest ever paid to a rookie at the time. They're looking forward to a 15-year career, a couple trips to the Super Bowl.
Knock it off.
the night after the draft, Leaf flew to Las Vegas on the jet of Chargers owner and partied all night. The next day, he was yawning during his first news conference. Not a good start.
Not a good start.
It's not one of your favorite guys, but Tom Brady a couple months ago was talking about quarterbacks that are drafted in the first round. They're just kind of pushed into starting so quickly. And I think it's probably because they're spending so much time on these guys. But he was kind of saying, but Brady was saying, these guys really need more time to learn the NFL. He's like, we used to spend just hours and hours in the off season in training camp trying to be better the next year. But these guys don't really have a chance to do that when they have to get thrown in week one or season one. And they don't really have time to really learn kind of how the NFL works and how they need to really be. They really dumbed down the game, which kind of has allowed them to play, but hasn't really allowed them to thrive. And Brady was kind of saying from his own experience where he was, at one point, he was 7th on the depth chart in Michigan, came into the Patriots as the 3rd string, and really kind of worked his way up. Look at guys like Aaron Rodgers, who spent quite a few years kind of getting mentored by some great quarterbacks. But now you get Caleb Williams and Ryan Leafs, who you're kind of thrusting into the starting role super fast. I mean, maybe it is too quick.
Yeah, I mean, clearly they're not completely mature. I mean, I don't know how you were at 22, but, I wasn't fully mature as I am now, wise. But they're not all Peyton Manning. They're not all Peyton Manning came in, and even Peyton, I think, went 3-13 and led the league and still has the rookie record for most interceptions.
He at least had, I feel like his dad was an NFL quarterback, and kind of he had that extra support that not everyone has. And so he kind of knew a little bit more going into it, what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, Arch Manning had a lot of lean years with the Saints, but even Peyton could have come back that next year and been like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. We're terrible. I'm terrible. He was special, but you see a lot of guys come in the league today, and what I notice is sometimes they come in the league and they're really good, and then they kind of fall off the next year. And I think the expectations get so big.
Yeah.
And
they do just give them so much money. You have to thrust them into that.
Yeah, Ryan Leaf, I mean, rough interview there in the locker room.
Yeah, when he went off on that.
Told that reporter to knock it off, and then called him a couple of not nice names. And Junior Seau, I think, was the one that kind of pulled him away.
Yeah, and Rodney Harrison never really had great things to say about him either as a teammate. Ryan Leaf, he had one stat line for one game. He was 1 for 15 for 4 yards, 3 fumbles lost, 2 interceptions.
Wow.
Can't really get worse than that.
That's brutal.
I guess you mentioned Archie Manning. I guess Archie Manning asked Leaf's father before the 2004 draft about how the Chargers treated him. While he accepted responsibility for his poor behavior and play, Leaf said that his father telling Archie that the team did not really help him was part of why Peyton's brother, Eli, forced the Chargers to trade him to the Giants that year. So I guess maybe some good came from it.
Leaf and Manning went head-to-head in week 5 of their rookie year. And
they had the same stat line, right?
Not the same.
Similar.
Leaf had a better game. Both quarterbacks went 12 of 23 through 1 interception, with Leaf throwing for 160 and Manning throwing for 137. Rough game. But the Colts did win 17-12.
All right. I think we're got to keep moving on here. George Blanda, 3-time AFL champion, AFL's most valuable player, NFL Man of the Year, played for 26 seasons of professional football, the most in the sport's history, and he retired in 1976 at the age of 48. He was one of only 2 players to play in 4 different decades, the other being John Carney. He held the record for most professional football games played with 340 until Morton Anderson passed that, but he still holds the record for most games played by an AFL, NFL player who was not exclusively a kicker or punter. He was ranked number 98 on Sporting News' list of 100 greatest football players, and he was the first ever recorded fantasy football draft pick when the game was first created in 1962 by the Greater Oakland Professional Pigskin Prognosticators League. Pretty cool. In Brady's last season, when he was, 45, they had a side-by-side of when George Blanda looked 45, or when he was 45 and Tom Brady was 45, and they I think George Blaine looked like he was like 75. Tom Brady looked like he was like 35. So it's amazing what some money and the best facial moisturizers money can buy.
Yeah, TV12 died, but I swear he looks younger now than he did 10 years ago.
He had a chubby face back 10, 15 years ago. Pretty impressive. Even if you are just a kicker to play until you're 48.
Yeah, 48's getting up there.
He scored at least 1 point in 26 years. Len Dawson played for 19 seasons, primarily with the Kansas City Chiefs. After playing college at Purdue, he began his NFL career in 1957, spending 3 seasons with the Steelers and 2 with the Browns. And then he moved over to the AFL and played for the Chiefs franchise, which was then known as the Dallas Texans, where he spent the last 14 years of his career and rejoined the NFL after the AFL-NFL merger. He guided the Chiefs to 3 AFL championships and the franchise's first Super Bowl title in Super Bowl IV, which he was named MVP. He was nicknamed Lenny the Cool. And from Lenny the Cool, move on to Joe Cool, Joe Montana. He was the 4th quarterback taken in the 1979 draft. After winning a national championship with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, he began his career in San Francisco, where he played for the next 14 seasons. He started and won 4 Super Bowls, and he was the first player to be named the Super Bowl Most Valuable Player 3 different times. He holds Super Bowl career record for most passing without an interception. He has 122 in 4 games, and the all-time highest passer rating of 127.8. In 93, with a young Steve Young behind him, he was traded to the Chiefs, played his last 2 years with the Chiefs. He was offered to wear the number 16, continuing that with the Chiefs. Then Dawson said, "Oh, no, you can wear it," even though they already retired it. And he said, "No, I'll take number 19. But his 16 that he wore with the 49ers was retired by the 49ers after the conclusion of his playing career. He was on the NFL's 75th anniversary all-time team, the NFL's 1980s all-decade team. He was in the NFL 100 team. And in 2006, Sports Illustrated rated him the number 1 clutch quarterback of all time. Among his career highlights, he had the catch, of course, to Dwight Clark in the 1981 NFC Championship game. And then that Super Bowl winning 92-yard drive against the Bengals in Super Bowl 23. Both pretty iconic plays.
Yeah, I mean, huge drive. I know they already had the drive with John Elway a couple of years prior, but that drive against the Bengals really cemented him as the most clutch. I don't remember the score. Were they down 3 or 4 against the Bengals with just a few minutes to go? Took them down and quite easily scored a touchdown. And my favorite part about that is they go out, starting the drive, run out on the field. Montana looks at his team and he's like, "Hey, is that John Candy in the stands?" And his teammates say that really just kind of changed the whole tone because they were just playing football at that point, and it wasn't the pressure of winning the Super Bowl. It was one drive.
Was he really in the stands?
I mean, I've heard that maybe he wasn't.
It could have distracted the guys more than anything. It's like, "Oh, where's John Candy? Is he eating a 96er?
If he was, then probably wasn't in the stands.
As a publicity stunt coordinated by Kansas City radio station KYYS, there was a town in Montana that unofficially took the name Joe. So there was a town called Joe, Montana, which had a population of 17 in the 2020 census.
Not 16? Can't get one person to move out of town.
Since we can get dark, get rid of one.
That's pretty cool. I did see Joe Montana one time. I worked down in Fort Lauderdale, and 4 guys they were huge, standing out on the sidewalk in front of the restaurant. Kind of walk up there. It's Joe Montana, John Elway, Dan Marino, and Jim Kelly.
It's not a bad lineup.
Oh, it was awesome. I didn't go up to them or anything, but they were so big. And you see them on TV, and
it's all relative because they're like, same size as everyone else.
Yeah, but they were big. But it was so cool to see that. It was Super Bowl. I don't remember which one. Colts were playing, but I worked down in Fort Lauderdale. They were playing down in Miami, and there were a lot of people in town. So it was kind of a fun time to be living down there. And Dan Marino, obviously being from Miami, so I always wondered what they were talking about. Probably not talking about anything.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah. 4 of the talked about Mount Rushmore earlier. Those could be 4 guys that all can lay claim to the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, you got to kick one out for Peyton, but that's fine.
And Tom Brady. Tom Brady was from San Francisco area and always idolized Joe Montana.
He was at the catch game.
He was at the catch game, yeah. And just kind of cool, especially for him, like he looked up to Joe Montana his whole life and then was able to play in the NFL, have the Super Bowls that Joe Montana had as well, and I guess ultimately surpassed him, at least for that. Who's to say whether he passed him as the greatest clutch quarterback of all time, which I'd say yes, but might be biased. But
yeah, you are. Brady had some good defense out there, but I mean, you and I do not agree on this, which is fine. I'm sure I'm in the minority.
Thankfully, Peyton and Tom don't have the same number. I don't think we're done talking about Joe Montana in this episode, but moving on to hockey. Just 2 guys I want to mention real quick. Brett Hull, who was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2009. He wore the number 16. He had a career total of 741 goals, which is the 5th highest in NHL history. He's one of 5 players to score 50 goals in 50 games. He's one of 5 players to score 50 goals in 50 games, and was a member of 2 Stanley Cup winning teams, in 99 with the Stars, 2002 with the Red Wings. His dad also had over 600 goals. Father and son were inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Hull's nickname, the Golden Brett, is a reference to his father's nickname of the Golden Jet. The number 16 was retired by the St. Louis Blues in 2006. The other guy worth mentioning here, Henri Richard, played center with the Montreal Canadiens in the NHL from 1955 to 1975. He was nicknamed Pocket Rocket after his older brother, fellow Canadiens legend and fellow Hall of Famer Maurice Rocket Richard. Henri won the Stanley Cup 11 times as a player, the most in NHL history, and him alongside Bill Russell, who we mentioned earlier, who played for the Celtics, are tied for the record for most championships won by an athlete in North American sports. They won the Stanley Cup in each of his first 5 seasons, and his brother played alongside him for those 5, and then he proceeded to win another 6 over the rest of his career. He played in over 1,000 games, scored over 1,000 points. Crazy to win 11 as a player in only 20 years. So every other year you're winning the league's championship. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, 11 is wild. I mean, 11 out of 20. That's really insane. That's really crazy that somebody can make it there that many times and get 11.
And then to win 5 in a row with your brother on the same team. Imagine some of those like backyard hockey games that they would play growing up. Like if they have these 2 future Hall of Famers playing together, that would be cool to.
That's so cool.
All for.
That's so cool. I mean, what a cool table to be around, during the holidays. But 5 championships with your brother
in a row.
Yeah, in a row. I mean, and for the parents, they don't have to, cheer one way or the other.
That would be nice.
And they just get to go to the game and watch both their boys play for the same team. I'm sure in the locker room, I'm sure that was a big reason they won a lot of titles, because of the chemistry they were able to have with each other.
Yeah, it's something that's you've had for the first 20 years of your life, and enough to take it. Moving on to a new sport here at the Digits Dynasty Podcast, we're going to talk a little about soccer. Roy Keane played 18 years over there in England. He played for 18 years. He played for the Cove Ramblers, Nottingham Forest, and Manchester United before ending his career at Celtic. He was a dominating box-to-box midfielder, known for his aggressive and highly competitive style of play. But that kind of helped him excel as captain of Manchester United, which he had for about 8 years, and he was quite a captain. He helped United achieve sustained success during his 12 years at the club. His honors included 7 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups, and the Champions League. I think we're not soccer people. This was sent to us by a listener that we needed to mention him. I don't really know what I was saying here. I know being a captain at Manchester United is a pretty elite thing, and scoring goals and winning Premier League titles and FA Cups is good. So I don't think we can. I think more importantly, into what I understand, the character of Roy Kent in Ted Lasso is based upon Keane.
Oh, really?
And upon hearing this, Keane said, I'm a lot nicer than him. But I think he was from what I read about Roy Keane, he was like a true captain. He really inspired his team. His success was less on like the goal scoring side and more about kind of leading the team as a captain.
What I've been able to read about old Roy, I've become a big fan of his. He was actually turned down for the squad for Ireland schoolboys after a trial in Dublin. And the former coach, his name is Ronan Scally, said that Keane was just too small to make it at that level. So I think that probably speaks to maybe he wasn't the greatest athlete. He was ready to put in the work, and he was ready to, put his team together. And probably was a significant reason why he was such a good captain, was because he was probably told a lot that, hey, you're not the best, so stop acting like you are. But good for him to stick to it, eventually, lead his team to that many titles. And if you're captain and you're winning, you're obviously doing something right. So shout out to Roy.
I think that's about it for our athletes that we're going to be debating. There's a couple more, I think, sport adjacent players to talk about. Another sport that we have not talked about yet. We're going to talk about dodgeball here, Curtis. And Peter LaFleur, who I don't know what the championship that he played in, but he did as captain of Average Joe's. They ultimately are victorious when playing Globo Gym's Purple Cobras in the Vegas dodgeball tournament. They won the $50,000 prize. The movie Dodgeball, True Underdog Story doesn't age super well, because I feel like in the finals he quit on his team and he was gonna fly back home, and then he runs into Lance Armstrong in the airport, and Lance Armstrong inspires him to go back. And I don't know if that really has the same pull that it does back when this movie first came out. I loved Lance back in the day, and
a lot of people did.
It was tough to finally hear the truth, I guess. Going back to watch the movie now, it just doesn't have that same maybe you should listen to this guy.
Yeah, Lance, probably wouldn't get that role today.
It's still just an iconic movie. Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, just a really funny movie. Funny when you kind of take these obscure sports and make a pretty good movie about them.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about, fictional sports characters, we got to talk about Shane Falco.
Another number 16.
Another number 16. The Keanu Reeves from The Replacements.
Played for the Ohio State. He choked in the 1996 Sugar Bowl and washed out of the pros after one season. He got the nickname of Footsteps because of his impulse to scramble prematurely when he thinks a sack is coming. Of course, The Replacements was based loosely on the 1987 NFL strike, specifically the Washington Redskins, who won all three replacement games without any of their regular players and did go on to win the Super Bowl that year. Falco Martell quarterback controversy is quite similar to the one that the actual Washington football team had between Doug Williams and Jay Schroeder, and Doug Williams ended up winning out on that one.
Yeah, he didn't do too bad. I could see Gene Hackman as an actual NFL coach. He's played a coach in the Hoosiers. He played a coach in The Replacements. I could see him on the sidelines.
Just who wore the hat, right? A little fedora in the movie.
Yes, he wore the fedora in the movie.
But he did just play for 3 games with the Washington Sentinels, so I don't think he's going to be in the running for the greatest 16. What's your favorite Keanu Reeves movie?
Speed.
Oh, that's quick. That's very speedy of you to say. I think I'll agree with Speed, actually. I feel like that movie, there's just so many twists to that movie. Really threw me for a loop when Jeff Daniels, the actor, went into the house midway through the movie and he got blown up. And I feel like it was unexpected. I think this is a weird one, but I feel like my whole life you didn't know, driving on the highway, you see all those big buckets, like the barrels. You never knew what was in them. But in this movie, one of the guys in the convertible rams into it and it's filled with water so that you don't, I guess, slows down your crash. But never knew what was in those until I watched the movie Speed. Crazy.
Well, it's probably good you didn't know what was in there.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, Jeff Daniels, poor guy, and then Dennis Hopper. Great movie.
Yeah, and again, just twist after twist after twist, and really kept you on the edge of your seat.
Simple story. Keanu Reeves, he makes that movie.
Yeah, I think the jump that the bus made, I don't know if that was realistic.
There was a lot about that movie that wasn't realistic, but okay.
But that, I think I remember where they actually filmed that. They were building a whole new highway in LA, so they were able to like use that, and it was easy for them to use without having cars. They wouldn't have to shut down the highway. They were able to use all these open, carless highways without having to block off traffic for LA, which I'm sure would not have been fun.
Pretty cool little twist there to have the highway missing, but no, not a realistic jump whatsoever.
I don't think car buses can just jump like that.
Keanu Reeves saves the day again.
There you go. Wildcat.
Shane Falco. Who would have known it would have come that far? I think he did Speed before the replacement. What came first?
Probably Speed.
Probably Speed. Bill and Ted, then Speed, then everything else.
I think it's time now to move on to figure out who the greatest athlete to wear the number 16 is. I don't know if we necessarily need to pick one from each sport. Are there any guys other than Joe Montana that we're going to be moving on here? Okay. Is this less of a debate than I think it was when we first kind of started the podcast?
You've got a lot of championships sitting in this list.
That is true. I think, yeah, you have 11 in the NHL. You have 8 in basketball, although I think we can agree that Tom Sanders is not going to be our best number 16.
Whitey Ford, you got 6?
He had 6.
Montana with 4.
In all,
and then you even got Roy Keane. He had a lot of titles himself. So there's a lot of titles here.
A lot of titles.
History would say that we put a lot of weight on titles.
And we typically do, although I think at least I was going to say, I feel like for a lot of them, they weren't the main kind of catalyst of the championships, but I think a couple of them were. Joe Montana obviously was the quarterback for four of them. Henri Richard, he was very integral in those championships. And then Whitey Ford is one of the greatest Yankees pitchers of all time. I imagine he was pretty integral to those championships as well.
He was. I'm not downplaying it, but he did have Mickey Mantle on his team as well. So it's hard for me to say because I wasn't around during that era.
Yeah, of the 4 I just mentioned, Joe Montana is the only one we've seen play.
Yeah, and even my dad, he doesn't talk about, he was born in that era, so he's not talking about, Yankees when Whitey Ford was around. So I just don't have the background to be able to really put into terms how good he was. But Joe Montana, come on. But Montana, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, 4-time champion, 2-time MVP.
4-0 in the Super Bowls.
Right, never lost, even when his team was down to the wire. He's also got a national title, wearing number 3 on that 3.
Get that out of here. I think I would be okay giving this to Joe Montana as our greatest at 16.
That's iconic, too. The Niners, Montana jersey.
Red and gold.
That is very iconic. He's got the catch. He's got the late game drive. He has everything on paper to easily be the greatest athlete to ever wear the number 16. In my opinion.
I like it. You can officially name Joe Montana from New Eagle, Pennsylvania, our greatest number 16 of all time.
3rd and 3. We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. Caught it! Dwight Clark!
Joe Cool.
The comeback kid, Joe Montana, our greatest 16 of all time. We'll put up on the board a nice red and gold 16. It's going to look good up there. He is going to be our 5th football guy to get his number up on the wall. Our 2nd 49ers jersey is up on the wall right now.
Joe Montana and T.O. I like it. Football's doing pretty well so far. I don't know if that means we're big football fans, which obviously we are, but I think they just have more numbers, more players. I mean, there's 53 guys on a roster and a lot of opportunity.
And just every number is going to get encompassed. Great athletes who wear every uniform. Can't say the same about basketball and baseball and the other sports that we've been covering. There's going to be some empty spots there.
Pretty much 1 to 99, you've got football guys. You get into the 60s, probably going to be a football guy.
We haven't really even gotten to the 60s yet. So there's going to be, I think at the end of the day, we'll most likely be having more football guys up on the wall than any other sport. All right, but let's see what we got on the books for next week. We'll spin that wheel and we get it set up and let's spin it. $41.
Okay, 41.
Okay. I think initial thoughts, I know Dirk Nowitzki just retired. He's going to be 41.
Definitely Dirk. He definitely comes to mind. I don't know. You got anybody else?
41. I'm trying to think of, I feel like football could be like a running back or like a lineman, like a linebacker, maybe a long snapper.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be a quick episode.
Yeah.
I know Dirk wore 41. I don't really know who else, though.
Glenn Rice. He was a 3-point shooter back in the day. I think he played for the Hornets. I used to use him as my 3-point shooter in the 3-point contest in my
NBA Jam.
Not NBA Jam in video games.
Okay. I think he played for the Lakers a couple years too.
Yeah, he did.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to diving into that one with you.
Yeah, it should be good.
41. That's a good song I like by Dave Matthews.
Some 41.
No, it's a song called The Number 41. Some 41. Okay.
Just another band. They're not. Maybe we can debate those two.
You like punk music?
I don't.
No.
There we have the greatest number 16 of all time in our books, Joe Montana. Write us, let us know if you agree, disagree, if there were any players that we missed. Our email address is digitsdynastypodcast@gmail.com. Our Instagram handle is Digits Dynasty Podcast. Next week, we will take a look at the number 41. If there are any players that are not to be left off the list, any stories that need to be told about players who wore the number 41, the email address again is digitsdynastypodcast@gmail.com.
I like it. Joe Montana. I still go back to that John Candy story. A big John Candy fan. Are you?
He was actually born on my birthday. We share a birthday.
Wow. Sorry, folks. Park's closed. Loose out front should have told you.
Wally World. And then even he was in obviously pretty iconic in Home Alone too. Home Alone as well. And he was in the polka band.
Yes.
that Kevin's mom rides with on her way home. And I think as a favor to John Hughes, he said, "Oh yeah, I got 24 hours to do this for you." And they basically used him for 23 and a half hours and didn't complain. He got his lines, and pretty important part of that movie. Polka.
Yeah, pretty small role, but yeah, I did see that in a documentary somewhere where they got him for a day and they made the most of it. One of my favorites, Uncle Buck. You like Uncle Buck?
Also with Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah. Take this quarter, go downtown and have a rat and all that thing off your face. Did you ever see Spaceball?
I've not seen Spaceball.
He's like Chewbacca. He's a Mog. You know what a Mog is?
I do not.
Half man, half dog. I'm my own best friend. Yeah, John Candy, gone too soon.
Yeah, he's a funny man. Well, thank you for listening, and please join us next week as we count down another number on the list.